Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, good morning. It is August 31st, 2020. And for those of you who know me, it's great to finally get to be back. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Jason Dreamer, and this is the return of the Sports Report right here on my YouTube channel. Now, for those of you who know what this show's about, it's going to be tremendously fantastic to get back to doing this. For those of you who don't, this is where I go around the Major League Soccer, Major League Baseball, NFL, NBA, NHL, and, depending on how well they keep up with their results, any other sport that I can from around the world. And starting later this season, on September 14th, I will be adding the WNBA playoffs to the list of sports I cover, as well as for the rest of their season, the NASCAR Sprint Cup and the NTT IndyCar Series will be joining the list of sports I cover here on this channel, on this show. Now that the kids are in most places officially back in school, I'll be able to do these videos more often like I used to. I have the videos from the older seasons up on this channel, so go and check them out if you want to know a lot more about how this show works. But enough of that. Let's get back to the sports. For the first time since their cancellation due to the COVID-19 pandemic back in March, I also will have a special show coming up real soon chronicling the start of the cancellations, which occurred back in March. And yes, this is my first time doing the show, even though sports have already started going again as far back as July and maybe even as early as June for those of you who follow NASCAR and IndyCar. But right now, let's get to the meat and the potatoes of the show. The sports that are currently working their way to the playoffs, which is the MLS. Now, later on, I will be, like I said, incorporating the playoffs for the WNBA. But we also will, on deck, behind the MLS standings, will have MLB standings, NHL, NBA playoff updates. So let's get into it before I forget anymore and make it sound like I'm going off the rail. In the Major League Soccer Eastern Conference standings, as you know, the top teams make the playoffs. I do believe it is 7 and 7. I don't believe they expanded it to 8 to 8, 8 and 8. I can only go on what I already currently know. So let's start this off. Advancing to the MLS Eastern Conference playoffs currently already is the first place Toronto Football Club with a record of 5 wins, 0 losses, 3 ties, and 18 points in the standings. Right behind them with a record of 5, 1, and 2, and 17 points is the Columbus Crew Soccer Club. Third, right now, is the Philadelphia Union at 4, 1, and 3 with 15 points. Fourth is the Orlando City Soccer Club at 4, 2, and 2 with 14 points. The New York Red Bulls with a record of 3-2-2 and 11 points. In 6th place, and for those of you who know me, you know I'm a big New England Revolution fan. They currently are in 6th place with 2 wins, 1 loss, 5 draws, and 11 points. And in 7th place is the Montreal Impact at 3-3-1 with 10 points. Now, the teams that are outside of the playoffs but still in conference: the Atlanta United Football Club at 3-4-0, 9 points. New York City Football Club in 9th with 3 wins, 6 losses, no ties, and 9 points. Football Club Cincinnati comes in at 10th place with a record of 2-4-2 and 8 points to their name. The expansion team of Nashville Soccer Club, coming over to the Eastern Conference from the Western Conference for the rest of the season, is currently sitting 2-4-1 with 7 points. Just behind them, at a record of 2-5-1 and 7 points, is the 12th place Chicago Fire Football Club. In 13th, DC United with a 1-4-3 record and 6 points. And rounding out the conference is the other expansion team for this year, Inter Miami's Club Football, and they have a 1-6-0 record with 3 points. Now, for the other side of the conference brackets, we have the Western Conference. Those currently in playoff position are the 5-2-1 with 16 points Sporting Kansas City, and number 2 Seattle Sounders Football Club with a 4-1-2 record with 14 points. In 3rd, the Minnesota United Football Club with a 3-2-2 record, garnering 11 points. Also garnering 11 points at 3-2-2 is the Portland Timbers team out of Portland, Oregon. Real Salt Lake comes in 5th place with a 2-1-4 record and 10 points. Los Angeles Football Club fans, you come in with 6th place with a 2-3 record and 9 points. And rounding out the Western Conference qualified teams for the playoffs at the moment are FC Dallas with a 2-1-3 record and 9 points. Now, for those of you who don't understand how soccer works, you're wondering why Los Angeles Football Club is ahead of FC Dallas, but they have more losses. They do have a secondary tiebreaker, which is a goal difference, which is basically what a team scored minus what their opponent scored. Over the entire season, that shifts depending on how many goals they win or lose by. Now, Los Angeles Football Club is plus 1 goal, and FC Dallas is plus 3. The reason that LA is ahead of Dallas is the goals for goes away rule. The away goals, Los Angeles has scored more than Dallas. So using that as the tiebreaker, that's why FC Dallas is in 7th place. For the rest of the teams in the Western Conference, 8th place is the San Jose Earthquakes with a record of 2-2-2 and 8 points. 9th place, Los Angeles Galaxy with a record of 2-3-2 and 8 points. and a goal difference of -3, meaning the goals against, not away, against, that the number of goals their opponents have scored overall this season is 3 points higher than what LA Galaxy has scored. That's why they're coming in 9th, and 10th is coming in Colorado Rapids with the same 2-3-2 record, 8 points, and a goal differential of -4, meaning the opponents scored 4 more goals this season than the Rapids have all season. In 11th place, we have the Houston Dynamo at 1-2-4 with 7 points. And last, in 12th place, we have the Vancouver Whitecaps Football Club with a record of 2-6-0 and 6 points. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I do have 1 or 2 people that have contacted me off air in my free time and have asked me, is Major League Soccer expanding anymore and adding more teams? The answer is yes. Next year, during the 2021 season, it will be the debut of the Austin Football Club of Austin, Texas. In 2022, we will be joined by the Charlotte Football Club of Charlotte, North Carolina. And in 2023, St. Louis, Missouri's adding their St. Louis City Football Club, and Sacramento, California's getting the Sacramento Republic Football Club. And that's how you are up to date for the current standings for Major League Soccer and how they're going to expand in the next 3 years. Ladies and gentlemen, we are going to go from the soccer field to the baseball diamond now with something that's a little easier to understand for everybody out there. We're moving on to baseball. Here's current standings for the Major League Baseball American League teams. In the American League East, the Tampa Bay Rays have a record of 24-11 and currently lead the conference division. New York Yankees are in second place with a record of 19-13, putting them 3.5 games behind Tampa. Now, for those of you who don't understand the half game, when a game is played by 2 teams, let's say Tampa Bay versus New York. If New York were to beat Tampa Bay, they would go from 3.5 games to 2.5 games because both teams played. So it would count as a full game, no matter whether it was against each other or against 2 separate teams. Say Tampa Bay had the night off and the Yankees were to beat the Boston Red Sox. It would then become a 3-game difference. If they would have lost, it would have gone from 3.5 to 4. So that's basically how the scoring system as games back work. In third place for the American League East Division, Toronto Blue Jays are 18-14 and 4.5 games back of Tampa Bay, and that puts them only 1 game behind the New York Yankees. Baltimore Orioles are 14-19 currently and in 4th place, and the aforementioned Boston Red Sox currently sit at 12-22, and they are 11.5 games back at Tampa Bay. In the American League Central Division, the Chicago White Sox and the Cleveland Indians are tied for first, both sharing a 21-13 record, and both are tied for the lead of the division. In third place, the Minnesota Twins are only a game and a half back with a 20-15 record. Detroit Tigers are 16-16 and 4 games back of the tied leaders, and the Kansas City Royals are 13-21 with 8 games behind. In the American League West, the Oakland Athletics are 22-12 and lead their division over the Houston Astros, who are 19-14 at 2.5 games back. At 9 games back, Seattle Mariners currently have a record of 14-22. Texas Rangers are 12-21 and 9.5 games back. And the Los Angeles Angels are at a record of 12 wins, 23 losses, and are 12.5 back of the leader. In the National League, the Atlanta Braves lead the National League East with a record of 19-14. The now Miami Marlins, who used to be the Florida Marlins, are now 14-15 in 3 games back and tied with the Philadelphia Phillies for second place. Not far behind them, the New York Mets are only 4.5 games back at a record of 15-19. Washington Nationals have a record of 12-19 and are 6 games back. In the National League Central, the Chicago Cubs lead the division with a record of 20-14. St. Louis Cardinals are 12-13 and 3.5 games back of the Cubs. Milwaukee Brewers at 15-18 are 4.5 games back. Cincinnati Reds are 15-19, 5 games back. And the Pittsburgh Pirates have a record of 10-21 and are 8.5 games out of first place. In the National League West, the Los Angeles Dodgers currently hold a record of 26-10 and are first place. Behind them we have the San Diego Padres at 21-15, 5 games back. Colorado Rockies are 8 games back at a record of 17-17. San Francisco Giants are 9 games back with 17-19 record. And finally, the Arizona Diamondbacks with a 14-21 record are 11.5 games back. Now, earlier I mentioned the WNBA playoffs will be coming to the Sports Report, and that will be on the September 14th show when they announce the playoffs schedule. And ladies and gentlemen, we're going to wrap the Sports Report up here with a rundown of tonight's games. Now, NBA is having one game tonight. Game 1 of the Eastern Conference Finals between the number 1 seed Milwaukee Bucks and the 5 seed Miami Heat. That will take place at the HP Fieldhouse in Bay Lake, Florida, 6:30 p.m. Eastern start time on TNT. And for the NHL playoffs, all the conference games will be played at different arenas. 2 different arenas. For the Eastern Conference semifinals, Game 5 tonight, the 2-seed Tampa Bay Lightning look to finish off the 4-seed Boston Bruins at the Scotiabank Arena in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. And once the East Conference wraps up, all games will take place at the Rogers Place in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada, which is where we find Game 5 tonight of the Western Conference semifinals game between the 2-seed Colorado Avalanche and the 3-seed Dallas Stars, and that's at 9:45 tonight. Now, ladies and gentlemen, now that the kids are back in school, look forward to these shows each and every day that I can. Until then, this is Jason Dreamer with Sports Report. And I'll see you tomorrow with tonight's 3 games results and tomorrow's schedule right here on the Sports Report. So until then, to all you dreamers out there, keep on dreaming, because anything is possible, even the return of sports during this pandemic.